Hey gamerfolk, it's Frey9. You heard the whispers on streams and podcasts, you saw the announcement, and you have seen the gaming community positively explode over the major release coming later this year. That's right, we're talking Valorant. The game looks awesome from what we've seen, but information online at the moment is scarce and hard to find, so we've put it all here in one place. Here's everything you need to know about Valorant. This is a summary of a lot of information, and we are going to be thorough. So feel free to use the timestamps on screen or in the description to skip around to the parts of the video that you want to see. Okay, so you're hearing all this chatter and excitement, but you're still wondering, what in the world is Valorant? Valorant is the new free-to-play FPS release coming out this summer by Riot Games, the same kingpin studio behind massive projects that have absolutely defined gaming, like League of Legends and Teamfight Tactics. But don't worry, Riot's not bringing us another copy-paste battle royale game like every other studio. No, competitive shooter players, this one's for you. According to the new Valorant website, Valorant is a 5v5 tactical shooter where creativity is your greatest weapon. Basically, just like every other person talking about the game right now is saying, this game sounds and looks just like the gorgeous love child of Overwatch and CSGO, and I am thrilled. A game with awesome characters that's also incredibly well made, competitive, and comes with a studio pedigree? I can't speak for everyone, folks, but that is certainly what I've been looking for. The website goes on to say that shooting in Valorant is going to be precise, consequential, and highly lethal, so don't go in expecting those Overwatch-style damage sponges. No, we're gonna see some sharply low time to kills in this game, and that sounds refreshing. The last little stinger in that first sentence is repeated again at the bottom of the page. They say, creativity is your greatest weapon. Now we've seen some hints about what the abilities are gonna look like, and we'll get into that in a moment, but I love this little line here at the bottom, because just that bit means all the difference in the world. Sure, this is going to have all of that strong, big CSGO energy, but it's also going to be so much more. This is going to be a game with incredible mechanics where some top-shelf thought and strategy will still be able to make all the difference in the world, which means we're going to see a super well-rounded community with all kinds of gamers in a way we never have before. Right, so enough beating around the bush. You want to know what the gameplay is all about. Luckily, 2 weeks ago we got a beautiful gameplay trailer, and we and everyone else are trawling right through for details to bring to you. The very first thing we see is a familiar weapon buy system thrown right in our face. Now I'm sure we can obsess over this and speculate for ages in another video, but for now, suffice to say, this is interesting. Mark one point for being more like CSGO than most character-based shooters because it looks like not only will all characters be able to have access to all of the weapons, they'll even be able to pick them up off the ground. I'm thinking that this could lead to some very interesting places as characters with different abilities might have really different weapons be meta for them. Think back to Overwatch and imagine having the ability to give McCree a shotgun to go with his flashbangs, or to give Pharah a sniper to validate her ability to get to high places. It would be so much more complicated and depthy, and that exactly is the game we're looking at right here. Anyway, next thing. Just in general, it looks like the gunplay is typically not going to require an aim-down sights on all or even most weapons. It's hard to get a perfect read on how things are going to work at this time, but that looks to be the case, and it wouldn't be unheard of for a game like this. Also, a major game mechanic that we're seeing again and again in these characters' kits is the ability to control visibility and movement on the maps, with these different sorts of walls and barriers. What we've seen so far seems to strongly indicate that abilities in Valorant are going to have a focus on reshaping the arena, at least temporarily, into such a way that gives your team a tactical advantage, which weirdly enough is a really cool take on having different characters have different abilities in a way that feels nice and distinct from titles like Overwatch. Onwards to some other stuff we see in the UI, which, by the way, looks very clean and maybe even customizable. It looks as though we might be seeing an Apex Legends style context-sensitive pinging system. Now, they hardly own the concept, but anyone who played Apex at launch can tell you how innovative this system was and how much it did for communication in the game, even for random teammates who normally wouldn't work with the team. If this is what we think it is, I would be very excited to see it in a game like Valorant. Very excited indeed. The next thing I want to call your attention to is these nice little status symbols placed at the top of the UI that show each player on the allied and opposing team, and maybe even their ultimate status. This may not be the only surface level similarity to Rainbow Six Siege that you can find if you try to mince words enough, but it is for sure my favorite. This system did wonders in that game, making those tight final plays feel so tense and intimate. Rainbow Six was always famous for those crazy clutches in 1v1s, 1v2s, 1v3s, and so on, and it looks like we're going to have that same amazing experience here in Valorant. Last thing for gameplay. So the YouTuber Charlatan, whose video is linked below and you should totally check out by the way, seems to have figured out what the match structure is going to look like. And that's on screen now. It looks like we're going to see 30 seconds of buy time, 100 seconds of round time, and a bomb explosion timer set at 45 seconds with 24 rounds and only 13 needed for victory. This seems to leave us with an average match time of 25 to 30 minutes, which seems pretty appropriate and engaging for a competitive title like Valorant. Alright, so here's the nitty gritty, and honestly, the thing that really caught my attention with this game. For all intents and purposes, Valorant looks like it's going to be a technical marvel. By the sound of it, Riot's gone and pulled out all the stops to make a game that's going to run better than anything on the market. It's awkward to say, but we've kind of gotten complacent as consumers. We're not nearly as shocked as we should be when a game gets released or updated and runs like a paraplegic penguin, or needs to cancel an entire season of content just to get their servers working. Sort of. None of that here. Riot plans to hit the ground running. We're talking 128-tick servers optimized all over the world, apparently reliably keeping the latency below 35 milliseconds, and that is crazy incredible. Folks, I don't need to tell you how unusual it is for a game, especially pre-beta, to announce stability like this with such total confidence. Just for some perspective, look at potential competitor Overwatch that has at best half that, around 62.5, or CSGO, which rests around 64. This server quality is going to blow everything else out of the water as far as opportunity for competition and fairness. It's totally unprecedented. The requirements of this game are almost as cool. The sheer optimization going to Valorant as we speak is just mind-blowing. Here are the current recommended specs for Valorant as hosted on their Discord server. Note here that they are claiming that even decade-old computers will be able to easily hold 30 frames per second, and that up-to-date rigs are going to reach as high as 144 plus without breaking a sweat. Now, when in the world, folks, did you hear about a game that can hit heights like that and still look out for the little guy who only plays on the weekend and doesn't want to dump money into gaming? This is the accessibility that we need. Here is the real headline though. One word: anti-cheat. Riot has committed to throw themselves at a high-class anti-cheat on day one, and you cannot overstate how big of a deal this is. Every big title on the market right now is struggling to keep their head above water with hackers and bots and boosters and all of that noise, but only the select few have made any real progress, largely because there's just other issues to focus on with game development, and the games suffer as a result. Entire IPs have fallen off to the wayside as far as being competitive, just because the competition with hackers is just too awful. Here's a studio that knows how to host a big, internationally competitive game though, and I'm thinking they're gonna get it right. So why are they so confident that they can pull off this obscene level of stability? Could they just be bluffing? I'm thinking not, gamers. I'm thinking it's high time that a studio finally figures out how to cap off the last decade of online multiplayer with something that works, and Riot is just the studio to do it. They've got the industry experience, they've got the mistakes of other studios to learn from, and they've got the budget, the minds, and the netcode. If they get this right, it could change gaming forever. Okay, so let's get real. We all loved Overwatch, at least for a bit. What was it that drew us in? What made it so marketable? The characters, folks. The world that the game inhabited. It's what Blizzard's great at. Maybe the gameplay fell off, but that never did. It's clear then that if Valorant's going to optimize its marketability, that they'll hit this box too, and wow did they. Playable characters in Valorant, who are going to be called agents, are going to follow sort of the same system as Rainbow Six or Overwatch. That is to say, they'll hail from different nations and bring in lots of flavorful personality and abilities to the table in ways that will likely get certain people very attached to their mains. For those of you that don't already know, Valorant is going to be an entirely new IP with no connection at all to League of Legends or anything of that sort. I'm aware that some people are kind of miffed by this or would have liked for it to be the other way, but from what I've seen so far, it looks like the lore and personality that they're putting into this game is really going to benefit from the fresh start that Riot gave it. It also looks like we're going to get a lot of those little nubbins of first-person personality that Overwatch was so famous for. The voice lines full of character, the little flourishes and hand movements, the thoughtful character models for the agents, I think these are all characters that we're going to fall in love with. We'll go into more detail in other videos, but the characters that we know about so far in alphabetical order are Brimstone, Jett, Phoenix, Sage, Sova, Cypher, Omen, and Viper. All of these characters look so cool and unique, and I absolutely cannot wait to see more of them. So that's everything we know so far about Valorant, but more information is coming out all the time, and I for one can't wait to see more and talk about it all. So if you liked our video and you want to hear more about the game as new info drops develop, be sure to like, subscribe, bell icon, and all that mess, and we will keep you posted. Bye now.